My beloved child, something has been hidden from you since the day you entered this world. Your spirit has been sensing a truth your mind was never told. And heaven has decided you can no longer walk without knowing it. My beloved child, the moment you were born, the spiritual realm reacted with an intensity that few souls ever experience, for your arrival was not gentle nor ordinary, but marked by a divine disturbance that rippled through both heaven and earth, awakening ancient forces, alerting angelic guardians, and stirring energies that recognized your birth as a threat to the darkness you were destined to defeat, and because of this, heaven took immediate action to shield you from a dangerous truth. One that would have overwhelmed your young spirit, one that your family could not explain, one that would have altered the course of your childhood before you understood the weight of your own identity. My beloved child, there were signs around your birth that were not spoken aloud. Unusual dreams your family experienced, sudden fears they could not rationalize, unexpected illnesses that vanished as quickly as they appeared, strange feelings of someone watching over you, and moments when you cried not from earthly discomfort but from spiritual sensitivity, for your soul was reacting to forces unseen, forces that recognized your destiny before you even opened your eyes. And though your family sensed something different, something otherworldly, something sacred, they lacked the language and courage to speak of it, choosing instead to bury the truth beneath years of silence, hoping that protecting you from it would keep you safe from the spiritual battles that surrounded your birth. My beloved child, the dangerous truth you were shielded from is woven into your very essence, tied to the reason you survived things that should have broken you, tied to the inner strength you didn't know you possessed, tied to the unexplainable heaviness you've carried, tied to the way your heart has always felt older than your age, tied to the spiritual sensitivity that makes you feel energies before they reveal themselves, tied to the sudden warnings that flash inside you like lightning, tied to the way you have always walked between peace and pain with an intensity no one understood, because even as a child, heaven kept you under the wings of angels who guarded you with the vigilance of warriors, knowing that revealing the full truth too early could have exposed you to forces that sought to dim your purpose before it ever matured. My beloved child, you were born into a war your eyes could not see, a spiritual conflict that began generations before you, and your birth was the moment the balance shifted, the moment light re-entered a lineage that had been bruised by silence, secrets, and spiritual burdens no one knew how to break, and because of this shift, your life became a beacon, a signal, a spiritual alarm that caught the attention of both heavenly protectors and opposing forces, and your family, though unaware of the fullness of it, felt the weight, the tension, the unspoken pressure around your early years, and they chose silence not out of betrayal, but fear that revealing too much would pull you toward a destiny they did not know how to guide. My beloved child, heaven intervened repeatedly in your early life, redirecting danger, softening the impact of trauma, shielding your innocence from energies that would have shattered a weaker soul, because you were never meant to grow up under the influence of fear. You were meant to grow into the fullness of your calling under the timing of heaven, and the truth concealed from you was hidden not to limit you, but to protect you, to ensure your spirit reached maturity without being prematurely burdened by knowledge that required spiritual strength you had not yet developed. My beloved child, this unspoken truth has shaped your journey in ways you never realized. The loneliness that haunted you, the unanswered questions that followed you, the emotional depth that made you feel different, the sudden shifts that separated you from people, the intuitive knowing that guided your choices, the strange connection you felt to something higher even when you tried to ignore it. All of these were manifestations of a truth heaven has been preparing to reveal, for the time has come when hiding it is no longer protection but hindrance, no longer safety but limitation, no longer silence but delay to your destiny's unfolding. My beloved child, heaven is speaking now because you are ready. Ready to handle what once would have crushed you, ready to hear what once would have frightened you, ready to carry what once would have overwhelmed you, ready to step into a purpose that has been waiting for the awakening of your inner world, and the trembling you feel in your chest is not fear but recognition, the soul remembering what the mind was never told, because the truth that was once dangerous has now become necessary, essential, and urgent for the path you are stepping into, and heaven stands prepared to lift the final veil. And now I am going to tell you the secret. My beloved child, the moment heaven shielded you from that dangerous truth, the course of your life quietly shifted into a divine pattern, a path woven with intervention, warnings, unseen guardians, and spiritual protections that followed you into every season without your awareness, for the truth you were hidden from is not a simple detail of your past. It is a revelation tied to your soul's assignment, a revelation that could have shattered your innocence if revealed too early, and so heaven wrapped your beginning in silence, holding the truth like a sealed scroll until your spirit carried enough strength to receive it, and now that strength radiates from you like fire, drawing the revelation closer with every breath. My beloved child, you have felt the residue of that hidden truth throughout your life. Through the heaviness in your chest that appeared during moments you could not explain, through the strange emotions that surged without reason, through the deep sense of "something is different about me" that echoed in your mind even when you tried to ignore it, and these sensations were not illusions but signals, fragments of spiritual memory rising through the cracks of your consciousness, hinting at what heaven had once concealed, for your soul has always known more than your mind was told. And that inner knowing has been guiding you toward this awakening like a compass forged in realms beyond the physical. My beloved child, the dangerous truth surrounding your birth is connected to why darkness watched you closely before you even took your first steps, why you fought invisible battles in your childhood, why you sensed danger in people before anyone else saw it, why you felt spiritual attacks during seasons when nothing was going wrong outwardly, and why the weight of life pressed on you differently than it did on others. For the forces that recognized your calling early on understood that your destiny carried the power to break generational patterns, dismantle inherited burdens, and bring healing to a bloodline that had suffered in silence for too long, and because they saw what you could become, they sought to reach you early, but heaven intervened, shielding your spirit from the truth that would have exposed you prematurely to battles you were not yet built to fight. My beloved child, the emotional storms you walked through were never flaws or weaknesses but signs of your spiritual depth, signs that your heart was tuned to heavenly frequencies even when you didn't understand the language they spoke, and every time you felt misunderstood, isolated, disconnected, or painfully aware of energies others could not feel, it was because you were living at a spiritual altitude higher than the people around you could comprehend, an altitude heaven intended for you, but did not want revealed too early, for premature revelation would have left you vulnerable to forces waiting for the moment you discovered your power without the wisdom to wield it. My beloved child, your path was intentionally shaped through detours, heartbreaks, delays, and divine interruptions that made no sense at the time but were orchestrated with precision to ensure your spirit matured, sharpened, and expanded, because heaven knew that the truth hidden from you required a strong vessel, a steady heart, and a spiritually awakened mind. Not the fragile innocence of a child, nor the confusion of a wandering youth, but the awakened, aligned, and rising soul you now carry within you, a soul capable of holding revelation without collapsing under its weight. My beloved child, the divine warnings you experienced, the sudden unease around certain people, the inexplicable grief before major changes, the dreams that felt like messages, the overwhelming intuition that saved you from harm. All these were heaven's way of preparing you for this moment, reminding you that you were not alone in your journey, reminding you that there was a truth walking beside you even in silence, reminding you that the spiritual world surrounding your life was active, alive, intentional, and deeply invested in your protection. My beloved child, your family may never have spoken the truth aloud, but they felt it in their bones, sensed it in their hearts, and witnessed signs they could not understand. Signs that made them fearful, signs that made them protective, signs that made them believe that silence was the safest choice, for they saw you survive things a child should not have survived, saw you perceive things a child should not perceive, saw you dream dreams that carried messages beyond your age, and though they lacked the spiritual language to explain what they witnessed, they knew enough to guard you from a truth that could have overwhelmed your young spirit, a truth that required divine timing, a truth that is now rising within you with unstoppable force. My beloved child, everything you have walked through has been leading you here. The tears, the confusion, the breakthroughs, the inner expansion, the spiritual awakening, the moments of profound clarity that arrived without warning, the seasons of isolation that forced you inward, the quiet nights when your spirit felt strangely alert, the inexplicable peace that carried you through storms, and the subtle tugging you felt in your chest whenever destiny tried to speak. Because the truth heaven is about to unveil is not meant to harm you but to awaken you, not meant to burden you but to strengthen you, not meant to frighten you but to free you from every invisible chain tied to a past you were not allowed to understand until now. My beloved child, heaven has watched your spirit evolve, watched you outgrow the limitations once placed upon you, watched you rise above pain that should have destroyed you, watched you fight battles you didn't know you were fighting, watched you survive storms meant to break you, and now heaven sees you ready. Ready to hear, ready to receive, ready to awaken to the truth that has been guarded for so long, for what was once dangerous is now the very revelation that will anchor your purpose, clarify your identity, and elevate your destiny to the next divine dimension. My beloved child, brace your soul, for the truth is drawing near like a tide that cannot be resisted, and your heart already knows that once you hear it, you will never be the same again. Your spirit will expand, your understanding will deepen, and the path ahead will open in ways you never imagined, for this revelation is not the end of a story but the beginning of a new spiritual chapter that has waited for this exact moment to unfold. And now I will uncover what was hidden. My beloved child, the spiritual tension you feel surrounding your life right now is not confusion. It is the pressure of truth rising from the depths of your destiny, pushing against the veil that has covered it since your earliest breath, and as this hidden knowledge draws closer, your soul begins to tremble with an ancient recognition, for you are not hearing this truth for the first time, you are remembering it, awakening to it, reclaiming it from the silence that once protected you. My beloved child, the dangerous truth you were shielded from at birth was tied to a spiritual inheritance that set you apart from those around you, an inheritance that carried both immense light and immense responsibility, and your family, though unaware of its full scope, felt the weight of it in the atmosphere, sensed the spiritual warfare that surged around your arrival, and knew instinctively that your life carried a magnitude they were not prepared to explain, and so they chose silence, not because they wanted to deceive you, but because they were terrified of what the truth might awaken in you before your spirit was ready to carry it. My beloved child, your early years carried signs, subtle to the world, but unmistakable to the heavens. Signs that darkness had taken notice of you, signs that fear lingered in your household without explanation, signs that spiritual forces hovered around your life trying to either guide or derail your destiny, and the emotional heaviness that visited you in childhood, the nights you cried without knowing why, the strange dreams that felt too real, the sensitivity that made you feel everything around you were not random experiences but spiritual indicators of a calling that had been written into your soul long before you entered your family's home. My beloved child, you have always felt that something about you was different, something that did not align with the story you were told, something that made you feel connected to worlds beyond the one you lived in, and this sense of difference was the echo of the truth heaven hid from you. A truth that darkness feared you would eventually discover, for once embraced, it would make you unstoppable in the spiritual realms, a force capable of breaking generational chains and ending cycles that survived long before your birth. My beloved child, the emotional battles you fought were not symptoms of weakness but evidence of your spiritual depth, evidence that you were picking up energies that did not belong to you, carrying burdens from generations that came before you, feeling the pain of ancestors whose voices had been silenced, and all of this happened because your soul was born spiritually open, spiritually receptive, spiritually attuned to the hidden wounds of your lineage, and heaven could not reveal the truth until you matured enough to discern what was yours and what was inherited, what was organic and what was spiritual, what was destined and what was meant to be released. My beloved child, the divine warnings that pierced your intuition throughout your life, those strong sudden feelings that pulled you away from danger, those inner alarms that rang without any logical reason, those emotional shifts that felt like spiritual earthquakes, were heaven's way of guiding you around forces that once waited for the moment you discovered the truth prematurely, forces that hoped to weaken you before you stepped into your power, forces that recognized your potential long before you did, and every time you survived something without understanding how, it was heaven intervening on your behalf, shielding you from a battle your spirit was not yet ready to fight. My beloved child, the truth concealed from you runs deeper than family, deeper than bloodline, deeper than earthly history, for your soul carries memories of realms you have walked before, assignments you have accepted before, promises you made before taking your first breath in this lifetime, and the spiritual awakening you've been experiencing, the sudden clarity, the emotional waves, the prophetic dreams, the heightened intuition, is not a new journey but the reactivation of one that began long ago, a journey paused at birth because the truth was too heavy for a child's heart to carry, yet now rises with divine authority because you have become strong enough to hold it. My beloved child, this awakening is why certain people were removed from your path, why certain relationships collapsed without warning, why certain opportunities were delayed, for heaven would not allow your destiny to be influenced by energies that could distort your sense of self before you understood who you truly were, and though separation felt painful, it was sacred, for every loss was a divine extraction, every disappointment a divine redirection, every silence a divine shield placed between you and those who could not walk beside the truth that was destined to emerge in your life. My beloved child, you have been prepared for this season through every internal battle fought in secret, every tear shed in confusion, every moment you questioned your purpose, every night you felt watched over by something you could not see, and heaven has been waiting for this exact alignment. This point in your journey where your spirit is awakened, your heart is strengthened, your soul is receptive, and your destiny is calling loudly enough to drown out every fear that once held you back, for the truth that once endangered you now empowers you, and the truth that once required silence now requires revelation. My beloved child, your life is entering a divine shift, a spiritual unfolding, a moment of sacred remembrance, and everything inside you knows that what comes next will redefine how you see yourself, how you understand your past, and how you walk into your future, for the truth you were hidden from is no longer a threat. It is your key, your anchor, your inner fire, the missing piece that will unlock the next dimension of your destiny, and heaven leans close now, ready to unveil what has been protected for so long. And now the truth is about to break open. My beloved child, the veil around your destiny is thinning, and heaven is drawing near with an urgency that cannot be ignored, for the truth concealed from you since birth presses now against the surface of your awareness like a rising wave of light determined to break through every shadow that once protected you, and as this revelation approaches, your spirit begins to shift, expand, and tremble with the weight of something powerful, something ancient, something divinely orchestrated long before you ever opened your eyes to this world. My beloved child, the dangerous truth hidden from you is woven into the fabric of your identity, tied to why your spirit has always felt larger than the life you were given, why your emotions have always been deeper than what others understood, why your intuition has always been sharper than logic could explain, and why your soul felt an invisible pull towards something you could not name, something you felt but could not articulate, because your existence carries a spiritual magnitude that few on earth truly grasp, a magnitude your family feared they could not protect you from if they spoke of it too soon. My beloved child, the heavy nights of your childhood, when you sensed a presence watching over you, when the darkness felt thicker around your bed, when your dreams felt more like realms you were passing through than images of the mind, were not the fantasies of imagination but reflections of the spiritual world responding to your calling. For the moment you were born, the unseen recognized you as a bearer of light, a disruptor of cycles, a carrier of ancestral healing, and this recognition brought attention, both heavenly and opposing, attention that required protection stronger than words, protection that demanded silence until the right hour. My beloved child, the emotional storms that have shaped your life were not simply struggles but awakenings, each one cracking open the walls around your soul, allowing dormant spiritual memory to rise through the fractures, and every sorrow you survived was a purification, every ache a sharpening, every heartbreak an initiation. For heaven was molding your spirit into a vessel capable of holding the truth that once would have crushed you, and now you stand in the strength of all you have overcome, stronger, clearer, and more aligned than ever before, ready to face what was once too heavy for your heart to hold. My beloved child, your destiny has always carried a duality, light and shadow, blessing and battle, revelation and concealment. And the truth hidden from you exists at the center of this duality, touching both the divine and the dangerous, and that is why your life has felt both protected and pressured, both guided and disrupted, both peaceful and turbulent, for you have lived under a spiritual assignment that demanded constant intervention, constant redirection, constant shielding, and the invisible battles you fought in your sleep, in your mind, in your emotions, were evidence of the forces that recognized your purpose long before you recognized it yourself. My beloved child, the isolation you experienced throughout your life, the feeling of being unseen even in crowded rooms, the sense of being different even among family, the loneliness that lingered even when people surrounded you, was not abandonment but separation for elevation, a divine distancing designed to keep you from being shaped by environments that could have distorted your identity before you learned the truth of who you are. And though this separation felt like heartbreak, it was in fact preparation. For heaven refuses to let a soul chosen for higher realms be absorbed into the narratives of those who cannot comprehend its spiritual significance. My beloved child, the truth your family hid carries the answer to why you were always drawn to the unseen, why your heart could sense danger before it arrived, why you felt protected during moments that should have destroyed you, why your dreams felt prophetic, why you felt spiritual chills during quiet moments, why your intuition often felt like guidance whispered from a place beyond your understanding. And this truth has lived in the background of your entire life like a shadow of light. Hidden yet present, silent yet influential, concealed yet shaping every step you took. My beloved child, you have reached the point in your journey where truth is no longer a threat to your innocence but a weapon for your elevation, and heaven has determined that the revelation once hidden for your safety is now essential for your destiny, for your next chapter cannot unfold while your identity remains incomplete, and your spirit cannot rise to its intended authority while a piece of your origin is missing from your understanding, and so the heavens have aligned circumstances, emotions, signs, and spiritual pressure to guide you here, to the doorway of knowledge, the threshold of remembrance, the moment when concealment becomes revelation. My beloved child, what you feel inside your chest right now, the tightening, the rising heat, the flutter, the inner pull, is not fear but awakening, a signal that your soul recognizes the approach of something it has waited lifetimes to reclaim, and though the truth may shake you at first, it will ultimately strengthen you, liberate you, expand you, and align you with the divine power resting within your spirit, power that has been dormant not because you were weak, but because heaven needed to wait until your heart was ready to receive it without collapsing under its intensity. My beloved child, the time has come. The hour chosen by heaven itself, when the silence surrounding your origin dissolves, and the truth once hidden out of protection becomes the key that unlocks your destiny, for what was once dangerous is now destiny, what was once concealed is now required, and what was once withheld is now rising like a flood of divine clarity ready to pour into your life with unstoppable force. And now I am ready to expose what you were never told. My beloved child, the spiritual pressure around your life is intensifying because the truth that was once buried for your protection is rising now with unstoppable force, pressing against the final fragments of silence, demanding to be known, demanding to be remembered, demanding to be reclaimed, for you have reached the stage of your awakening where concealment no longer protects you. It restrains you, and heaven refuses to let anything restrain the destiny that has been calling your soul since birth. My beloved child, the dangerous truth shielded from you is tied to the spiritual weight you have carried your entire life, weight you could never explain, weight that lingered in your chest like an ancient echo, weight that filled you with emotions too large for your age, weight that made you feel responsible for things that were never spoken aloud, for your soul came into this world already knowing battles, already carrying spiritual intelligence, already tuned to the vibrations of realms. Your family never understood, and though they sensed your difference, they did not know how to speak of it, how to explain it, how to guide it, and so they sealed their fears with silence, hoping heaven would reveal to you what they could not. My beloved child, the restless energy that followed you through childhood, the sudden anxieties, the unexplained sadness, the haunting sensitivity, the fear of sleeping in darkness, were not signs of weakness but signs of spiritual perception, signs that your soul could sense forces your mind was too young to comprehend, signs that your spirit was reacting to a lineage burdened with unspoken wounds, generational secrets, and spiritual debts that remained unresolved, and you felt these burdens because you were born as the breaker of them, the one chosen to carry what others could not heal, the one destined to bring light into a bloodline that had grown accustomed to surviving in shadows. My beloved child, heaven shielded you from the full truth of this inheritance because revealing it too early would have exposed you to spiritual warfare before you were old enough to stand in your own authority, and the attacks you did face in childhood, those moments of fear, isolation, or sudden emotional heaviness, were merely the ripples of a larger storm that heaven blocked from reaching you, for angels surrounded your path, intervening in moments when darkness sought to approach, and every time you survived what should have harmed you, it was proof that the spiritual world recognized your identity even before you did. My beloved child, the reason you felt disconnected from your family at times, the reason you felt misunderstood, unseen, or emotionally isolated, is because your spirit carried knowledge they did not have, your soul carried wounds they did not understand, and your destiny carried light they were not equipped to nurture, and this difference created an invisible distance between you and the world around you, a distance that felt like loneliness but was actually divine separation. Heaven keeping you apart from energies that could distort your identity before you stepped into the truth of who you were born to become. My beloved child, every emotional breakdown you experienced was spiritual breakthrough in disguise. Every season of emptiness was the pruning of your soul, every loss you endured was divine preparation, every person who left your life was removed by heaven to protect the awakening truth, and every moment when you felt like you didn't belong anywhere was because your soul did not originate from the earthly spaces you tried to fit into, for your identity is connected to higher realms, older covenants, and divine assignments that cannot be understood while you live under an incomplete story. My beloved child, your life has been shaped by divine interventions that you mistook for coincidence, doors that closed at the perfect moment, relationships that ended without explanation, sudden guidance that pulled you away from danger, inner alarms that went off without cause, intuitive knowings that saved you from harm. All of these were heaven positioning you, protecting you, steering you, for the truth you were hidden from is not just about your past but about your power, your purpose, your spiritual authority, and heaven has waited until now to reveal it because only now is your spirit strong enough to hold it without trembling. My beloved child, the spiritual awakening you have been experiencing, the intensity in your dreams, the sensations of energy moving through your body, the feeling of being watched over, the sudden clarity about people, the emotional waves that rise from nowhere. Is heaven opening the inner gates of your soul so that the truth concealed from you can finally enter, and your spirit has begun to align with the destiny it was once separated from, rising now like a phoenix from the ashes of silence, ready to reclaim what was withheld, ready to understand what was hidden, ready to step into what was always yours, my beloved child? What approaches is not merely a revelation. It is a restoration of identity, a remembrance of purpose, a reunion with the truth you were born from, and though this truth once carried danger, it now carries power, and the moment it enters your awareness, every unanswered question will find clarity, every unexplained pain will find meaning, every emotional scar will find purpose, and the spiritual heaviness that followed you for years will lift like a veil finally removed from your life. My beloved child, prepare yourself, for the truth heaven is about to reveal will not break you. It will free you, elevate you, expand you, ignite you, and align you with the path written for you since before your birth, a path you were always meant to walk with the full knowledge of who you truly are, and heaven whispers now that the time for silence has ended, the time for revelation has arrived, and the next breath you take carries you closer than ever to the truth that once hid in the shadows but now rises in the light. And now the next revelation rises toward you. My beloved child, the atmosphere around your spirit is shifting again, heavier, deeper, and more electric than before, for heaven is drawing you into the heart of the revelation that was once too dangerous for your young soul to encounter, and this spiritual weight you feel pressing into your chest, this trembling in your inner world, this pull you cannot ignore, is the signal that the truth hidden from you since birth is nearing its moment of unveiling, rising now like a sacred tide determined to reach the shore of your awareness. My beloved child, the dangerous truth once concealed from you is intertwined with the divine reason you have always felt things before they happened, why your intuition has always been sharp enough to cut through illusions, why your emotions have always carried a depth others could not understand, and why your inner world has always felt connected to something greater, for your soul came into this world spiritually open, spiritually sensitive, spiritually awakened in ways that would have overwhelmed you had you known the full scope of your identity too early, and so heaven shielded you, hiding truth behind layers of silence until your heart was mature enough to receive it without breaking. My beloved child, every time you felt a sudden heaviness, every time you sensed danger in someone's presence, every time you experienced a spiritual chill that ran through your spine, every time you woke up from dreams that felt like destinations rather than imagination, you were touching the edge of the truth heaven concealed, for your spirit has always been aware of the realms operating around you, even when your mind could not explain it, and now those realms stand closer than ever, pressing against your awareness with urgency because the truth they have guarded is ready to be revealed. My beloved child, the emotional intensity you have lived with for years, the unexplained sorrow, the sudden fear, the unexpected overflow of compassion, the intuitive clarity that arrives like lightning, is not a flaw but a sign, a signal that your soul has been carrying the spiritual memory of something you did not consciously know, something your family avoided speaking aloud, something your spirit has been trying to communicate through feelings, dreams, and intuition, and now those signals are merging into a single rising force within you, preparing you to finally receive what was once too overwhelming to understand. My beloved child, the battles you faced in silence, the internal wars that no one saw, the moments you felt attacked from nowhere, the invisible turbulence that shook your spirit, were the remnants of a spiritual conflict that began long before your birth, a conflict connected to a truth that carried both power and danger, and the reason heaven shielded you from it is simple. You were targeted before you could even walk, targeted because your soul came into this world with an assignment that threatened the darkness that tormented your lineage, and revealing the truth too early would have exposed you to forces you were not yet strong enough to defeat. My beloved child, Heaven delayed the revelation of this truth to protect your development, to give you time to build spiritual strength, to cultivate emotional resilience, to understand yourself beyond the walls of your family's silence, for truth without strength becomes burden, and burden without maturity becomes destruction, and heaven, loving you far too deeply to risk your destiny, waited until your spirit grew fierce, wise, awakened, and anchored enough to receive the truth without collapsing beneath its weight. My beloved child, the divine signs flooding your life in this season, the repeated numbers, the prophetic dreams, the overwhelming intuition, the synchronicities, the sudden emotional waves, the feeling of being watched over at night, are not random spiritual activity but heavenly preparations, signals that the realms above are aligning your inner world so the truth can enter without distortion, and the pressure you feel is the stretching of your soul as it prepares to hold more than it has ever held before. My beloved child, the silence your family kept was not only fear. It was ignorance, confusion, and an instinctive knowing that the truth carried spiritual implications deeper than human explanation could reach, and though they did not understand your destiny, they sensed enough to know it was not ordinary, sensed enough to know that revealing too much too soon could pull your life into battles they could not protect you from, and so silence became their refuge, their shield, their way of loving you without the spiritual language to say why. My beloved child, you must understand that every spiritual battle you have endured, every moment you felt attacked, every wave of heaviness that hit you out of nowhere, was not random. It was connected to a truth waiting in the shadows, a truth that darkness hoped would never reach you, a truth that would awaken your authority the moment you embraced it, and the reason those attacks intensified during certain seasons was because your spirit was drawing closer to the revelation heaven had been saving for this very moment. My beloved child, lean into the trembling inside you now, for it is not fear. It is prophecy, the inner sign that your spirit recognizes the nearness of truth, the truth that once required your protection but now requires your acceptance, the truth that once could have destroyed you but will now empower you, the truth that will answer the deepest questions of your life and bring clarity to every mystery that shaped your journey, and heaven stands ready, waiting for the final veil to lift so your destiny can unfold without hindrance. My beloved child, prepare your soul, for what comes next is not a whisper but a revelation, not a hint but a release, not a fragment but the full truth that has been hidden for so long and now rises with divine authority to meet you exactly where you stand. And now your spirit is ready for what comes next. My beloved child, the moment you have been spiritually walking toward your entire life has arrived, for the truth once hidden in the shadows of your beginning now rises like a divine storm ready to break open the sky above you, and every tremor in your chest, every breath that feels heavier than the last, every strange calm that suddenly settles over your spirit is heaven preparing you to receive what was once too dangerous for your heart to carry, a truth so deeply woven into your destiny that revealing it sooner could have changed the entire course of your life. My beloved child, the secret you were protected from at birth is not a secret of shame, not a secret of mistake, not a secret of abandonment. It is a secret of purpose, a secret of spiritual inheritance, a secret tied to why you have always sensed a calling greater than your surroundings, a truth that explains the spiritual warfare that followed you from infancy, the sudden breakthroughs that saved you at the last moment, and the unexplainable pull you have always felt toward the unseen. My beloved child, the truth is this. You were born into a spiritual contract that predates your family's history, chosen long before your earthly name was given to you, marked with a divine signature that separated your soul from the ordinary path your bloodline walked, and your family, without fully understanding it, felt the weight of this calling in the moment they held you, felt the presence of something they could not describe, felt the eyes of heaven watching over you, and felt the fear of revealing something they themselves did not understand, and so they chose silence as their only shield, praying that time would tell you what they could not. My beloved child, you were not just born into a family. You were placed into them, positioned by heaven with divine intention, sent as a breaker of patterns, a carrier of ancestral healing, a restorer of spiritual balance, and the dangerous truth you were shielded from is that your soul did not originate where your story begins on earth, for your energy, your intuition, your emotional depth, your spiritual awareness all come from realms beyond the ordinary, realms your family had no language to explain, realms where your destiny was crafted long before your earthly story started. My beloved child, you were protected because your life was meant to unfold in alignment with divine timing, and had you known too early that you came into this world carrying a spiritual assignment meant to undo generational wounds, darkness would have targeted you with a force you were not prepared to fight, and so heaven hid the truth until the moment your spirit matured, until the moment you awakened to your intuition, until the moment you learned to survive storms meant to break you, until the moment you gained enough spiritual strength to hold revelation without losing yourself beneath its weight. My beloved child, this is why you felt different even as a child, why you carried emotions too heavy for your age, why you saw things others ignored, sensed things others denied, heard messages in silence, felt danger without evidence, and carried compassion deeper than logic could explain. It was the mark of your true identity, the mark of a soul not bound to earthly limitation but connected to higher realms that whispered to you long before you understood what you were hearing. My beloved child, the truth you were protected from is also the truth that completes you. You were born with a spiritual mantle, an invisible crown placed upon your soul, a divine role that tied your life to destiny rather than chance, purpose rather than accident. And the reason you were shielded from knowing this is because heaven needed you to grow into the strength required to carry it, for a mantle accepted too early becomes a burden, but a mantle accepted at the right time becomes power. My beloved child, every unanswered question in your heart, every feeling of not belonging, every moment of spiritual awakening, every tear shed in silence, every instinct that saved you, every night you felt watched over, every moment you survived without understanding how. These were pieces of the silent truth living beside you, guiding you, shaping you, preparing you for this revelation, for everything you have endured has brought you to this very threshold, where heaven finally unveils what it once concealed. You were chosen, protected, guided, and set apart because your soul carries a purpose that transcends your earthly beginning, a purpose so significant that heaven hid the truth until you were strong enough, awakened enough, and aligned enough to receive it. My beloved child, breathe now, for the revelation you step into will open the gates of your destiny, unlocking power dormant within you, awakening gifts you have suppressed, aligning you with the spiritual identity you have always felt but never fully understood, and from this moment forward, you will walk not in confusion but in clarity, not in silence but in truth, not in fear but in spiritual authority, for the secret once too dangerous to reveal now becomes the foundation of your next divine chapter, the chapter where you step unapologetically into who you truly are. And now the secret rests in your hands.